Hello, beautiful people. Today is 27th of June. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, you all might be knowing Amartya Sen, the Nobel Prize laureate. He says every adversity, every dialectical challenge is a potentially a learning experience, but it need not go that way if we refuse to learn. So, guys, crisis is a great teacher, and the present pandemic that we are seeing can also provide amplitude of opportunities to the humanity that they can learn and can be more sensitive to the ever pressing issues such as inequality, climate change, and the zoonotic diseases about which we have never cared about. And guys, by using the challenge of the pandemic, we can avert the gravest of the grave problem which mankind might be seeing into the years to come. Moreover, the attitudinal competence is the most important in having this particular type of viewpoint. So, guys, this particular attachment we can use onto the paper on essay GS paper number 4 attitude as well as into the crisis management related question. Now, guys, the main question that I gave you yesterday, it says India's development paradigm needs to transform from ease of doing business to ease of living. Also suggest a developmental model which suits to conditions in India. First of all, every day I say three distinct parts: intro, body, and conclusion needs to be maintained. First of all, friends, many of you have simply explained the ease of doing business, which was not that much required into the question. Friends, you need to understand the emotion behind ease of doing business, what it wants to convey. Thus, it wants to say that India has focused onto the growth as well as onto the quantitative measures, such as the GDP, sectoral growth numbers, etc. But we have forgotten about the qualitative growth due to which the ease of living, the quality of life has been suffered, though we have seen impressive growths and numbers for more than a decade. See, particularly after 1991, when we taken over the LPG reforms, we are driven through more of a capitalistic orientation and we became the propagators of the Adam Smith and we forgot the Gandhiji's talisman that everybody's quality of life also needs to be focused. So, in order to achieve the better ease of living, we simply need to migrate from wealth of nations to the Gandhiji's talisman. But this time, talisman will be for the state's action. That the actions of state should be such that even the modest, even the most vulnerable should have a life worth living. And seeing the inequality, IMR, MMR, poverty, and all these kind of things, we can see that the clusters of industries have been made, world class infrastructure has been made, but at the same time slums are also existing. People are dying because of inaccessibility of health, because of hunger, because of infectious diseases. So guys, an alternative developmental model is needed which is based onto the ideas written into the millennium developmental goals, sustainable developmental goals, DPSP, into the part 4 of the Indian constitution, and most importantly onto the idea of Ram Rajya given by the Mahatma Gandhi, which envisages a life of bliss. Now, guys, you can suggest certain schemes and initiatives to support this particular things, and at the last we will suitably concluding with the optimistic picture. So on these lines you can write. So friends, that's all, and now let's take up the newspaper analysis. Friends, first let's take up the overview of the entire paper first. So we will see that certain developments have going on into the LSC sector. So we'll take a brief update here. Then, guys, with respect to the delaying into the exam, we can see that what could be the ethical implications here. Then moving forward, so into the regions page, city page, the rapid antibody testing is being said. So we will see that what are the serological tests and all that kind of associated thing. Then guys, the reconstruction scheme with respect to the Yes Bank has been questioned. So we'll see the issues involved here. Then guys, into the editorial section, the first editorial is very good. The gun jumps and the steel crisis. So we will discuss this thing. Then here we will see that what could be the cost at the learning curve into the time of pandemic. Then guys, this particular article talks about the nuisance of the poorly regulated drugs. So we will see the issue here. Then friends, ground zero report is the first hand account of the problem that our migrants are facing. We have discussed this ample number of time and it is more of a personalistic account. Then guys, recovery from pandemic. So with respect to essay, we will see some important matter here. Then moving forward, so on to the next page, we can see the report of the UNODC. We'll see what are the issues here. Then guys, center rollouts anti-drug plan. So we will see here. After that, the showcase page, not important for our exam. Then guys, onto the world page, the ASEAN has held a session here. So we will see. Then the big eyes into the UN 75. We'll see this particular issue. Onto the business page, it's all about the corporate news, not important for our exam. And then on to the last page also, there is nothing important, only the sports news are there. So now let's take up the detailed newspaper analysis. Now here friends, first we can see some developments on the LAC in the Ladakh sector. Now we had seen that recently there was an agreement on to the core commander level meet on 22nd of June. And as part of this agreement, it was decided that both the sides will maintain the restraint along the LAC. Moreover, there will be restrictions onto the patrolling, construction, etc. So in this particular context, it has been seen that there is a noticeable reduction of Chinese troops along the LAC, which is a good thing. However, Chinese have not removed the semi-permanent or fabricated structures which they have erected at the major points, that is the into the Galwan region, at the Fingers region, and the third is the hot springs, which also we call as the Gogra post. So they have not removed those structures, and this could be a part of Chinese strategy where they might be going for a quid pro quo. That is, there could be a possibility that in exchange of reduction into the infrastructure at these locations, they want settlement in some other sector. So this is something which is being conveyed by the sources. So friends, in a nutshell, the thinning of troops have been observed, but the retracting back or going back has not been observed. Moreover, as we had already seen that the Fingers region happens to be more intense, so guys, there also the status quo has not been changed, has not been reverted back to the earlier position, where earlier India used to control the position up to finger number 4 and was allowed to patrol up to finger number 8. So guys, still there is much more which is needed to be achieved. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, here we can see that a major tectonic shift is coming into the assessment also for the school students. So earlier, the central government had told the Supreme Court that the CBSE as well as ICSE, which are the two major education boards of India, have decided to cancel the exams for the 10th and the 12th standard. As into the wake of ongoing pandemic, it could be dangerous to call students from their homes. Moreover guys, if we even talk about Delhi, then there are more than 200 containment zones, so it will be very much difficult from students to come from the containment zone region into the centers, and it might jeopardize the other students health also. So now it has been decided that the students will be given marks onto the basis of an assessment criteria. So the students who have given more than 3 exam, they will be given marks onto the basis of a best of 3. Then the students who had given only 3 exam, they will be given the marks onto the best of 2. And the students who had given only 1 or 2 exam, they will be given the marks onto the basis of average of these exam plus onto the basis of the internal and practical scores. However, ICSE is yet to finalize that what will be the assessment criteria for the students, and they will be submitting their reply. Now, the decision which has been taken is good in respect of the health crisis that is going on. But from academic point of view, there could be one issue which could be involved here, guys, and the issue is such that result assessment is being made onto the performance that has been given into the past, but there could be certain students who might not have been able to perform good but were seeking forward to level up that bad performance by giving even more good performance into the upcoming exam. But that opportunity, the opportunity to reform, has been lost, and now their entire life will be tagged onto the basis of some average performance that they had given. So there could be a tiny figment of injustice or denial of opportunity onto the 100% fair grounds. Now, though it is an abstract thing, but guys, please keep this consideration in your mind, because ethical dilemmas develop into these kind of situations, hard situation only. So be prepared for such things. It could come into your ethics exam also. And if it comes there, then you can quote the Jeremy Bentham, who says that at the end of the day we also needs to keep in mind the larger good of the entire community. So guys, that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, all the state government want to give the good health response, and it can only be possible if the state governments have the proper information with respect to the spread of virus into the community, into the people who might be asymptomatic or would have contracted the mild COVID-19, but they never came to the government hospital or into the government radar. So guys, we need to have information for such people also, so that we can give a proper health response. And in this direction, the help can be taken from the random antibody testing. Therefore, the Delhi has decided that they will conduct the serological survey. So, serological survey means that the samples from the body fluid will be taken and they will be diagnosed. And generally, the blood samples are taken here. So, actually, on ground, what will happen? The health volunteers will approach the random people, will take their blood samples, and will check whether the blood has generated the antibody or not. So guys, if antibody has been generated, it means that the people might have contracted the virus, but now as the antibodies are there, the person feels good. Moreover guys, if there are larger people who had developed the antibodies, it will also indicate that now they are little bit more immune towards the virus, and therefore there could also be a possibility that even the herd immunity can also be reached into the times to come. Moreover, when such random testing will be carried, immense data will be generated on whose basis government can plan their further strategies and can allocate proper resources into the fight. So this is a good initiative which has been taken, and all the states should conduct such kind of random testing so that the actual spread of virus into the community can be seen, and it will also be instrumental to tell us whether we are seeing the community transmission or not. So it is a much needed step into this direction. And that's all. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, here the Delhi High Court has asked the government that why government has brought the reconstruction scheme only for the Yes Bank, and why not the same has been done for the PMC Bank. Now, guys, if we go into the background, then the financial condition of Yes Bank was declining very much steadily, and in order to safeguard the interest of the depositor, the Ministry of Finance imposed a moratorium into the March onto the Yes Bank, and its activities were severely limited. Now, guys, all this moratorium was imposed by using the powers given under the Banking Regulation Act 1949. And further, the finance ministry also made a scheme for the reconstruction of Yes Bank, that was the Yes Bank Reconstruction Scheme 2020. And here various reforms were taken for the Yes Bank. For example, it was said that the State Bank of India will be called as investor bank, and it will be investing into the equity capital of the Yes Bank. Moreover, State Bank cannot reduce the investment up to 3 years from the date of investing. Moreover, guys, other reforms were also taken. For example, the Reserve Bank of India will take over the management of Yes Bank and will ensure that professional competence is ensured. Moreover, other such kind of reforms were taken for the well-being of the bank. Now, guys, into this particular background, now the Delhi High Court has asked that why the center has taken such actions for the Yes Bank only, and why such thing has not been done for the PMC Bank, which is a multi-state cooperative bank majorly operating into the Maharashtra, as there also people are being suffered. So now the center government has to file a reply into this particular regard. Guys, that's all about this. Now we'll move to next. Now guys, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial that we are taking is getting out of the gun germs and the steel crisis. Friends, it is a very good article and has been inspired by the Diamond Jared's book gun, germs, and steel, which explains the evolution and development of societies onto the factors of geography, environment, and all such kind of things. By the way, I highly recommend that if you ever get the time, please read it. It is an excellent piece. Now coming back to the article. So the article says that Indian economy is facing challenge onto the three fronts and we'll discuss them one by one. So onto the gun, we have a military challenge onto the LAC sector with the China, and the situation is being compared with the India's war with the Pakistan into the Kargil. And guys, at that point of time, India's defense expenditure shot up by nearly 20% from the previous years, and government had to altogether enhance the defense budget for the upcoming years, and thus nearly 2.7% of nominal GDP was attributed to the defense, which India was not in a condition to afford because giving the weak financial condition of India. And now guys, as we are confronting with the China, then again there will be the constraints onto the budget front. Guys, as of now, India had allocated 2% of GDP for the financial year 2021 for the defense sector. Why? Because already we are facing the slump into the economic growth, and the China's budget in compared to India is four times higher. So guys, in if we the confrontation follows and if we want to give a befitting reply, further budget has to be allocated, for which India is not ready right now. Coming to the second vertical, that is the jumps. So it means that the health crisis that is going on. And guys, if we see the response of the government, then the combined public health expenditure means of both the center as well as the state is nearly 1.5% of GDP, which is very less seen the counterparts. For example, China spends nearly 3% of GDP, whereas the USA spends nearly 9% of GDP. So, guys, given the size of India's population, we substantially need to enhance the funding for the health sector because the pandemic is expected to stay for at least 2 years, as this is the minimum time which will be taken for invention of the vaccine and administering that vaccine to the majority of population. And guys, the problem is not of giving the additional funding, but the problem is from where that funding will be mobilized, because you know the condition of Indian economy at the present time. And now we'll come to the third vertical, that is the steel. Now, guys, the lockdown has imposed certain problems into India, due to which the economy has been crippled. So, if we see, the Indian economy has four major drivers, in which the number one is the public spending on consumption, number two is the government spending, third is the investment, and fourth is the external trade. And among all these, the largest contributor is the public spending. As for every 100 rupees increase into the GDP, nearly 60 to 70 rupees increment comes from the spending made by the public. And as lockdown was imposed for nearly 2 months, there was no public spending, and because of this particular factor, there will be the huge decline in GDP. Moreover, guys, Indian economy is very strongly aligned with the global economy, and as global economy is also into the decline, further there will be the implications for India. Now, into the aftermath of all this economic crisis, government is still hopeful that India will see a V-shaped graph where there will be the decline for this particular year, and then there will be the sudden increase into the GDP and we will be coming out. But guys, it will be not that much easy, because earlier I had told you that the increase in GDP will be coming when there will be the enhancement into the public spending. So guys, people altogether are not having the money. Therefore, in order to achieve the V-shaped graph, government needs to put money into the hand of the people so that people can spend that money for the expenditure, and then a kind of a cycle will begin where people's spending will generate a demand, and for that particular demand the new industries will be set up, and into those industries employment will be generated, and when the employment will be generated, the salary will be given, and that salary will again be spent by the people. Then again the kind of a demand will be created, and therefore a loop will be established, and we will be able to come back from the economic decline. And the same strategy was followed in USA by the President Franklin D. Roosevelt into the aftermath of 1929 Great Depression. There, the money was put into the hand of the people. USA was able to kickstart the spending cycle again. But if you remember, initially, government has to put money into the hand of the people to begin all this cycle. But again, a question comes that from where the government will be getting money. So the option number one is to take more debt, but it will create its own problem because when the government debt rises, then the global rating agencies downgrade the sovereign credit rating. And recently we had seen that the Moody's had already downgraded India's sovereign rating, and we are just above the junk. And guys, further resorting to any kind of debt can land us into the junk credit rating, and this will create a panic attack into the foreign investments that have came to India. And if they also started to go back, then again a new round of problems will start. And then we have a second option, that is we can print more money to cover our expenditure, and that thing is also called as monetization of deficit. But printing of money is not that much simple, because by doing this we are creating the additional money supply in an economy, and when there will be additional money supply without the correspondence increase into the production capabilities, then it will bring the inflation into economy, which will generate its own set of problems. So guys, this is not that much simple. However, at the same time, it has been argued that presently inflation will not be a problem, because anyhow the aggregate demand is very less, and inflation comes when the demand rises suddenly and people also have the money. But then again, we have an counter argument for this particular thing. Friends, it is not like very simple that directly the money will be printed and it will be given to the government. Rather, what will happen? The RBI will print money, the government will pledge the securities, and then RBI will transfer the money to the government. But anyhow, in this process also we can say that a kind of a debt is being generated for the government, and again, if the debt will rise, there could be the problem that the our rating could be further downgraded. So it has been said that the monetization of deficit could be a magic pill, but actually it is not. So guys, India faces a Dashrath dilemma. Here it is very hard to choose whether the country's border should be safeguarded or citizens should be safeguarded, or should economy be prevented to go on to the junk track. So there are immense cost, and government should be very much careful in choosing any kind of path. So that's all, and now we'll move to next. Friends, earlier we had seen the issues that will be coming with the online education. Will quickly be revising this entire article. Please note the points, they will be the ready-made answer for any question if it comes here. So, as we know that the pandemic has bring the challenge for the education. Either it is suspended or it has switched to the online mechanism. And then there are the challenges into the online education. So, what kind of challenges could be there? Challenge number one, the online education is not suitable for the practical subjects such as medicine, dentistry, engineering, etc. Then, secondly, there are the doctoral research courses such as PhD, which requires a constant brainstorming and observation with a mentor or a guide. And, guys, a human element is very much needed in converting the research to the practical results. So, therefore, the online education falls a little bit short. Guys, after that, the third point is the problem of digital divide, because with respect to the internet connection, devices, bandwidth, speed, there is haves and have nots into our country. So therefore the unfortunate ones are not able to get the full benefit here. Then the fourth is, we all often talk from the point of view of the students, but there is also the point of view of the teachers. So guys, the online teaching is a separate genre, it needs entirely separate skill set, and for this particular thing the teachers were never trained. So at the end of the day, what they are doing, they are videographing the poor version of a physical class which is not suitable for the online mechanism. So therefore there is a problem. And fifthly, we don't talk about the resource crunches with the teachers also, because they might not be having the technical expertise, the hardware, the software, etc., to give the effective lessons. So these all are the challenges. Now, guys, talking about the government's effort to enhance the online education in India. So, in this particular direction, the Ministry of Human Resource Development has done a very good task as it has promoted the massive online open courses via the National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning NPTEL and SWAYAM, which stands for the Study Web of Active Learning for Young Aspiring Minds. Either way, you are not required to remember the full form, just remember their abbreviations. So, guys, here very good quality online courses are being provided and the class experience is highly augmented. So, further on these particular lines, much more courses should be developed and the skill set should be provided as they had provided to the teachers who are teaching here. Along with them also, we also need to bring new ideas into the learning and education, and going with the Mahatma Gandhi ji's idea of new talim, we need to reorient the education, the pedagogy and all these kind of things. So guys, with respect to the Nai Talim, we can involve new tools such as artificial intelligence, which can provide the customized learning solution to everyone according to his mental level and his needs. Now, guys, earlier also artificial intelligence have been proved very useful as a boon for the teaching students who are differently abled. So, onto this particular line, we should experiment and should enhance the scope. Moreover, at the same time, while we are using such sensitive tools, we need to be very careful to the needs of people or the student who have earlier been excluded from the education due to the wake of lack of resources. Now this thing should not happen, and this pandemic can provide us a new opportunity that we can bring everybody into the education by using proper digital technology tools. So guys, that's all about this. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, this particular article talks about the shortcomings into India's regulatory regime. If you remember, we had seen that the Patanjali had introduced a new drug which it promises that it 100% cures the patient from COVID-19. Now, guys, first of all, claiming such type of magical healing power is a offense under the Drug and Medical Remedies Act 1954, we have which we had already discussed, and already we had discussed even the amendments which are coming into the 2020. So first of all, there's a problem here. Secondly, guys, there is the problem into the entire methodology of the drug which has been introduced. First of all, it has taken a sample size of very less people, only 100 people, out of which even 5 people retracted back. Now, out of this group, the 45 people were given the drug and 50 people were given a placebo or a mock drug, and it was said that the end of the day all recovered. So, guys, how a distinction can be made that whether the drug was effective or whether the normal treatment was effective? Now, guys, if you are following regularly, then we had seen earlier that a study was published into the Lancet which cautioned about the use of the hydroxychloroquine, as it was said that it doesn't brings any relief, rather sometimes it is also the counterproductive. And at that point of time, Indian scientists were very much vehement against the hydroxychloroquine drug and a campaign was started. But guys, now such kind of response is not onto the same lines into the case of the recently introduced Ayurvedic drug. Moreover, guys, though Ministry of Ayush had issued a strict warning to the Patanjali, but ICMR and CSIR have not been very much vocal about the introduction of new drug. Now, guys, in India, from very long there has been a tension between the Ayurvedic as well as the allopathic, and even there happens to be an inherent biasness into the favor of the Ayurvedic drugs. But guys, not following a proper clinical trial and not publishing the proper clinical data with respect to the drug which claims to treat a disease which happens to be the center of pandemic is a criminal negligence, and this particular precedent should not be allowed and strict action should be taken by the ICMR as well as CSIR. Otherwise, it will open up a Pandora box of such illicit drugs into the country. So, friends, that's all about this particular issue, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here a web conclave was held on which some prominent thinkers such as Soumya Swaminathan, Amartya Sen, and the Noam Chomsky made their appearance. So, here certain important themes were discussed, such as what could be the post pandemic world. So, friends, here we will take certain dimensions as if an essay come onto that particular line, you should have some alternative viewpoints apart from the points that you hold. So, first of all, Noam Chomsky had criticized the present actions that are being taken. It has been said that the powerful leaders are making all attempt to preserve the world after the COVID-19 as it was before. So, guys, those inequalities, injustices, all are being tried to be preserved by the leaders. However, if we act more properly, then we can bring a world which is more of equality. So, it has been said that the more harsher authoritarian moves such as controls, surveillance, etc., are being promoted, so therefore there will be even more implication onto the privacy and such related issues into the post pandemic world. So it depends onto the people also that what they themselves are doing to make a post pandemic world more inclusive, safer, and justice oriented. So therefore if the voices come together, then they can change the way as how the things will turn out. Moreover, guys, as now the entire focus onto the COVID 19, we should also not forget the fight onto the climate change. See, anyhow, we will recover from the SARS CoV 2, but we will never be able to recover if the global ice melts and the sea surface level increases. That thing will be having actual disastrous impacts. So, into the post pandemic world, the orientation or focus on that thing should also be there. Moreover, guys, the Kerala and Vietnam have been praised because till now the Vietnam particularly has not faced even a single death. So guys, these are the resurgent countries which had shown what a determinism can do. Now, guys, here the Dr. Swaminathan has said that what could be the value of a dissent by the help of an example from science. So, it has been said that each week we understand more and more, and therefore our thinking about it and the projections we are able to make do change. In science, it is very common as you make advances, scientists do debate and question each other, and this is how knowledge advances. So here it is being said that every day the knowledge with respect to the CoV2 is changing, and guys, the descent only brings the more stable and perfect kind of knowledge. So these are certain takeaways from here, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here we can see that certain observations into the increase of the drug use, drug trade has been observed. Now, first of all, starting with the basic information, there is the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, which was established in 1997 in order to control the abuse of drug trade, illicit trafficking, and all these kind of thing. And it is headquartered into the Austria. Now, guys, every year 26th of June is observed as International Day Against Drug Abuse, which was yesterday. Moreover, guys, the UNODC also releases the World Drug Report, and its 2020 version has also been released recently. So guys, there have been certain observations with respect to the drugs. So it has been said that into the times of pandemic, due to the economic compulsions, anxiety, stress, tension, people will be resorting to more of a drug consumption, and even they will be involving into the drug trafficking to make a living, as the employment opportunities will go down. Moreover, there will be even sudden rise into the drug related activities as enforcement agencies are diverting their attention to the pandemic containment. Moreover, guys, the world around the countries have also reduced their budgets with respect to the enforcement into the drug. So all of these things cumulatively will be having a negative implication. Moreover, friends, as I told you that the International Day Against Drug Abuse was held yesterday, so in this particular direction, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has also taken certain steps and had identified 272 vulnerable districts with respect to drugs, and has also started the Nasha Mukt Bharat or a Drug Free India campaign, which will work on two fronts. That is, on one hand, the institutional support will be provided, and secondly, the community outreach programs or the community support will also be provided to the ones who are battling with the drug abuse. So guys, drug abuse or substance abuse is an important sociological problem, so can use these things into our GS paper number 1. Moreover guys, when we are talking about the UNODC, then it also celebrates, apart from the International Day Against Drug Abuse, the International Anti-Corruption Day on 9th of December. So please remember these factual points also with respect to the World Drug Report, International Anti-Corruption Day, etc., because such kind of questions have already been asked. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Guys, recently the annual summit of the ASEAN was held, and there the rising tension into the South China Sea have been discussed, where the China happens to be the major aggressor. So guys, you might have read about the South China Sea dispute, where the China says that the 9 dash line of China is the actual boundary up till which the China's territorial sovereignty extends, and therefore claims all the region here, and therefore it comes in conflict with the nearby countries, as they claim that the region is part of their exclusive economic zone, but China denies it. So therefore ASEAN had condemned the behavior of China and had warned China of its behaviors into the South China Sea. Now, into the meet that was held, the Titu Island was discussed, which lies near to the Spratly Islands, which are in also the dispute. So, guys, please see the locations here. Now, when we talk about the ASEAN, then ASEAN stands for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and was established by the Bangkok Declaration. So, guys, basically, it is a regional organization and promotes activities such as intergovernmental cooperation, economic, political, security, military, educational, all such kind of spheres. And when we talk about the members of ASEAN, so guys, all these countries, that is Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Brunei, and Philippines are the members of the ASEAN. And its headquarters are located into the Jakarta, Indonesia. Now, friends, discussing more about the Titu Island. So, it is the second largest of the naturally occurring island into the Spratly region, and it is largest of the Philippine administered island. Moreover, it is also claimed by the China, Taiwan, and Vietnam along with the Philippines. Now, guys, this particular year marks the 75-year anniversary of the United Nations Charter coming into the force, which was instrumental into the formation of the UN organizations. So, friends, first of all, the UN happens to be important this particular year. Now, on to the eve of 75th anniversary, a commemorative declaration was to be held, but it has not been passed because of certain differences which have came. Now, guys, into this commemorative declaration, the phrase was being used, that is the shared vision of a common future. Now, this particular phrase is very similar to the ideology of the Communist Party of China, which they propagates onto the international forum. Moreover, guys, such kind of thing has also been talked many a times by the Xi Jinping, and now as the majority of democratic countries are having differences with the China, so therefore it has been said that such phrase should be dropped and some new worded declaration should be adopted. Now, guys, the major objection to this phrase has been given by the Five Eyes as well as India. Now, guys, Five Eyes are the US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And along with them, India is also apprehensive by using this particular phrase. Further, if we talk more about Five Eyes, then guys, it was an intelligence alliance in which these five countries were together, and they signed a multilateral UKUSA agreement in which the intelligence was to be shared. And guys, these Five Eyes have also been criticized by the Edward Snowden, who was the whistleblower, and he says that these agencies create an organization and they are not answerable to any country with respect to the breach of privacy, etc. So guys, please remember this particular issue, as well as UN is also important, as I has told you earlier, which was established in 1945 after the World War II. So that's all, and now we'll move to the question section. Friends, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So first question is with respect to the silk weaving and associated places. Please identify the correct code. Now question number 2 is with respect to the ASHA workers. Please consider the statement. Question number 3 is with respect to the ecology. Please find the correct answer with respect to the coccolithophores. Question number 4 is with respect to the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research. So please consider the statements. Now friends, today's mains question is from the IRGS paper number 2. So the question says that India's claim for permanent membership in UNSC is a genuine demand in the changed geopolitics of 21st century. Comment and also highlight the impediments in India's quest to bring reform in UNSC. Guys, write it and submit your questions for the review. Friends, I hope you are liking the discussion. Thank you so much.